Welcome to the deep dive. We take powerful source materials, crack them open, and pull out the key insights, basically giving you a shortcut to being genuinely well-informed. And today, we're really going to challenge a pretty common idea about mission. Is it, just about growing the churches we already have, making them bigger, stronger?
Right.
Or is there maybe a deeper, more dynamic strategy? Something our source today argues has actually fueled the gospel's growth for centuries.
Yeah, it's a fascinating angle.
So today's deep dive is all about what the source calls the mission mandate. It makes this, frankly, compelling case that planting new churches is, well, the most biblical, the most effective, and maybe the most exponential way to fulfill the Great Commission. We've got a really solid source on this, and our job today is basically to pull out those core insights for you, the surprising facts, the big implications, without you having to wade through everything.
It's powerful stuff. The source, it really gets straight to the point. It reminds us that the Great Commission, go and make disciples of all nations. Well, that was never meant to be just managed from behind a desk or a pulpit.
Right.
It was designed to be carried out, to the ends of the earth.
Okay, so that immediately sets up this tension, doesn't it? If the command was go, not just manage what you have, well, what does that mean for how we often think about church growth today?
Exactly.
I mean, the source must really dig into that, right? This contrast between sort of preserving what exists versus venturing out.
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
It argues that, look, growing existing churches, that's obviously well-intentioned, it's good work, but history, scripture, even what's happening right now in mission movements globally, they all point to a different kind of truth.
Okay, and that different truth is?
That planting new churches is, as you said, the most biblical, effective, and exponential way to fulfill the Great Commission. And the source is really careful here to distinguish, kingdom growth from just church growth as maybe the world measures it.
Ah, right. So not just counting heads or looking at the budget.
Exactly. Not just attendance, budgets, buildings, all that stuff. It emphasizes planting, living, reproducing bodies of believers. Think about that phrase. Ones that actually take root in their own culture, bear fruit right there, and then crucially, send out new seeds to do the same thing elsewhere.
It's a real shift, isn't it, from just adding people to, well, multiplication.
It is. It's dynamic multiplication.
It sounds a lot like the early church, actually. When you read the book of Acts, I mean, Paul and the others, they weren't trying to build one giant headquarters, were they?
No. Not really.
They moved from city to city, preached the gospel, gathered believers, appointed local leaders, and then they moved on. They trusted that new church to stand on its own feet. It seems like it was clearly multiplication, not just maintenance.
Precisely. And what's really striking is that this principle, it's not just ancient history, it's alive today. Our source shares this really powerful example from Southeast Asia.
Oh, yeah. Tell us about that.
Well, there was this mission team, and they realized they were kind of hitting a ceiling just trying to grow one main regional church. So they shifted their whole strategy. They started focusing on planting multiple smaller fellowships in all the surrounding villages.
Okay.
And the result, within just a few years, the actual gospel presence, the number of believers, it expanded way beyond what they could have imagined with the old model.
Yeah.
And the key was that the people leading these new fellowships were from those communities.
Ah, so it was local leadership taking root.
Exactly. It just shows the incredible power of these embedded, contextualized movements where local people really take ownership.
That example really drives home that idea of multiplication in action. Okay, so let's dig into the biblical roots here. The Great Commission, make disciples. Our source argues that's not just about individual conversions, right? It's bigger.
Much bigger. It argues it's inherently about forming brand new communities of believers. The Greek word used there, methotusenes, it implies forming a new group, a new collective. It's not just adding individuals to an existing list.
Okay, so community is central. Why is that so important for the mission itself?
Well, the source really elaborates on the church with a capital C as God's chosen instrument for mission. It traces this communal idea all the way back, actually, from Abraham's calling. You have God promising a people through whom all nations would be blessed right up to Pentecost, where the Spirit creates this new community.
So the early church wasn't just an organization, it was a movement.
Absolutely. A Spirit-empowered movement of local communities.
Yeah.
And what did? They witnessed, they worshiped together, they cared for each other, and they sent out missionaries. Paul's journeys are so key here. He didn't just preach and leave.
Right, he established churches.
Exactly. He established churches, he mentored leaders, he made sure these were self-sustaining communities that could then, importantly, reproduce themselves.
And this pattern, it didn't stop in the first century, did it?
Yeah.
I mean, the source connects this through history.
Oh, definitely. It highlights how the early church's rapid spread, it wasn't really driven by big centralized campaigns. It was mostly relational, grassroots church planting, person to person, community to community.
Okay.
Then you look at something like the Reformation. Huge renewal happened through planting new, biblically faithful congregations. And today, especially in the Global South, we're seeing this incredible explosion of indigenous multiplying churches. It's the same engine at work.
It really is like a continuous thread then.
It is. The source puts it very clearly. Church planting is the engine of the mission, the most effective and biblically rooted means of fulfilling God's redemptive plan for the world. It calls it a relentless forward movement, always expanding, always reproducing.
So we've talked about what this mission is, but, sometimes the term church planting itself comes with baggage, doesn't it? Misconceptions. Our source tackles some of those.
It really does. It does a brilliant job of dismantling some common myths.
Like what kind of myths?
Well, for instance, the idea that it's, only for professional missionaries or pastors. Or maybe that it's just about numbers, nearly numerical growth. Or, and this is a big one, that it's about just importing one-size-fits-all models from one culture into another.
Okay, yeah, I've heard those. So how does this source counter them?
It counters them really insightfully. First, it brings up the priesthood of all believers. That biblical idea that every believer is invited into God's mission, not just the ordained folks.
Right.
Then it unpacks this concept of incarnational mission. It compares it to Christ's own ministry, how he actually entered human culture, spoke the language, related to people right where they were.
Like John 1:14, the word became flesh.
Exactly. So new churches aren't meant to be like carbon copies imported from somewhere else. They should be indigenous expressions of the gospel. Think about Paul in Athens, finding common ground in their culture, but still presenting the core truth. It's about engaging culture without compromising the message.
That completely reframes it, doesn't it? It's not about imposing something from the outside, but enabling something authentic to grow from the inside.
Precisely. It reinforces that true church planting thrives on contextualization. Respecting cultural differences allows the gospel to genuinely take root, to resonate in local languages and worldviews, and actually transform communities from within.
Okay, this makes a lot of sense. If this multiplication thing is so powerful, so biblical, then the big question, the one probably on everyone's mind, is why not just focus on growing the churches we already have? Why isn't that enough?
That's the million-dollar question, right? And the source gives some really compelling reasons, highlighting the fundamental limitations if we only rely on growing existing churches.
Okay, lay them out for us.
All right, first, cultural and geographic barriers. Think about it. An existing church, even a really great large one, might be in one part of town. It can really struggle to effectively reach a neighborhood just a few miles away if that neighborhood has a totally different language or culture or economic reality.
Yeah, that's true. The vibe can be completely different.
Exactly. But new plants, especially when they're led by people from that specific community, they naturally bridge those gaps. They speak the language, literally and figuratively.
Okay, barrier number one. What else?
Second, and this one's maybe a bit counterintuitive, a potential lack of ownership and innovation. Now, established churches offer stability, which is good, but sometimes just focusing on growing that existing structure can lead to a more passive mindset for newer people. They might feel more like consumers than participants.
Right, you just show up.
Kind of. But a new plant, that ignites this incredible sense of ownership, a real pioneering spirit. The founding members are building something from the ground up that releases so much energy and innovation.
Yeah, you're all in it together from day one.
Exactly. But maybe the most powerful reason the source gives is the third one. Multiplication versus addition. This is key. Growing an existing church fundamentally is addition. It's linear. 1 + 1 + 1. And it's kind of constrained by the church's current reach and capacity. Church planting, though, is multiplication. It's reproductive. Think about Jesus' parables, the tiny mustard seed growing into this huge tree, or that little bit of yeast working through the whole batch of dough.
Ah, yeah, exponential growth.
That's the idea. It's about birthing new communities that then in turn go on to plant other churches. It's a fundamentally different growth dynamic.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a really powerful distinction. It's like adding one car to your garage versus building a whole car factory that produces more factories.
That's a great analogy, yeah.
And the source really emphasizes that in our world today, which is changing so fast, diversifying so quickly, multiplication is presented as maybe the only strategy that can actually keep pace with, let alone exceed, how society is expanding. It's not just a nice idea, it's positioned as a strategic imperative.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's bring this home. What does all this mean for you, listening right now? How do you actually engage with this? It sounds big, maybe even overwhelming. The source must offer some practical ways in, right?
Right. It definitely does. It explains that engaging this mandate today, it takes a holistic approach, needs to be spirit-empowered, but it's something everyone can be involved in wherever you are.
So how do we actually do this? Where do you start?
Well, the source really cuts to the chase here. Think of it like being a master gardener. First step,
Huh?
you absolutely have to know your soil
Know your context.
deeply, not just a surface look. It means really listening, researching, understanding the culture, the unspoken hopes, the real struggles in your community. The source even talks about spiritual mapping, basically, getting a sense of the unique spiritual landscape, the history, the challenges, before you even think about planting. Paul did this in Athens, right? He observed first.
Okay, understand the ground. What's next?
Second, prayer has to be the absolute foundation. It's not just a nice add-on. It's what aligns our efforts with God's will. It gives us the perseverance we need when things get tough, and they will, and it's essential for dealing with any spiritual resistance. The early church's expansion was just saturated in prayer.
Makes sense. Foundational prayer, then what?
Third, it's about forming and equipping disciples. Notice the word, disciples, not just converts or attendees. This means investing in people's lives, teaching, mentoring, and specifically developing Indigenous leaders, people from that community who can truly lead and multiply the mission locally. It's about building capacity from within.
So investing deeply in people. Got it.
Fourth, building genuine relationships and trust. This is huge. The gospel often breaks through barriers when it's seen lived out in real friendships, in serving the community. People need to see the church as a place of authentic care and love, not just an institution.
Right, it has to be relational.
Fifth, related to the discipleship point, is deliberately empowering local leadership. This is absolutely crucial for the long haul, for sustainability and authenticity. When leaders from within the community are raised up and given real responsibility, the church naturally fits the local context. It becomes theirs, not dependent on outsiders.
Avoiding that dependency cycle. Makes sense.
And finally, number 6, a commitment to long-term presence. Church planting isn't a quick project. It's a marathon, not a sprint. It takes patience, perseverance, being willing to adapt when things don't go as planned. You're in it for the long haul to see lasting fruit.
Okay, so know the soil, pray constantly, make disciples, build relationships, empower locals, and commit long term. That's a powerful framework, and it sounds like it's not just for, the professionals on a foreign field.
Not at all.
Every believer has a sphere of influence, right, where they can plant these seeds. So how can someone listening identify those opportunities nearby?
That's a great practical question. Think about communities around you that are maybe unreached or underserved. Are there immigrant groups who don't have a church in their heart language, one that really gets their cultural background?
Yeah, that's a big one in many places.
Or maybe there are new housing developments popping up with no real gospel presence yet. Or even specific subcultures like university campuses or particular professions where traditional churches might not be connecting effectively. It requires opening our eyes to the needs right around us.
Looking for those gaps?
Exactly. And beyond maybe starting something yourself, the source also stresses the importance of partnering and supporting. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Collaborate with existing ministries doing good work. Offer strategic support, prayer, finances, maybe your specific skills or expertise to help empower especially those Indigenous efforts. Mission is almost always better together.
Yeah, collaboration is key. Okay, as we wrap up this deep dive, let's just quickly recap the core idea here.
Yeah, the big takeaway.
Church planting, as presented by our source, really is the heartbeat of the Great Commission. It's this dynamic, multiplying, incarnational movement. It's deeply rooted in the Bible, and we see it working throughout history and today. It's fundamentally about planting seeds of hope that can transform whole landscapes, not just adding a few more leaves to the tree we already have.
Well said. And the source leaves us with a really provocative thought to chew on. It quotes that passage, "The harvest is ready, but the laborers are still few." So here's the question for you, the listener, to think about. What if the future of global mission hinges less on just expanding what we currently have, and more on our willingness to start something entirely new, maybe right where you are in your context?
Wow.
Like that tiny mustard seed Jesus talked about, the one that seems insignificant but grows into something huge. What small, faithful act of seed planting might you be invited to begin today? Knowing that, with God, it could grow into something far beyond what you can even imagine right now.
That's a powerful thought to end on. We really encourage you to reflect on your own role in this mission. Consider how you might participate, whether it's starting something, supporting something, or simply praying with new eyes for those seeds of hope to be planted and to multiply.